First Church asks and gets its monies. And then we'll have a question and answer session. Let us begin this forum with a short prayer to guide us. Heavenly Parents, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion. Allow us to grow closer in our understanding of the financial needs of First Church, and nurture the bonds of community as we move forward into the next 6 months of our calendar year. Impart your wonderful wisdom upon our activities, so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Amen. The panel includes Steve Crow, our treasurer, Vice Moderator Randy King, Legacy Circle and Stewardship Committee member Pam Chapin, Reverend Petra, and our budget support group kind of just went down a little bit as Reverend Petra admitted, but Julie Golson is here, Kathy Chambers, and maybe Eric is around if he's not doing things. He's a good support for our building. And again, as Reverend Petra said, our bookkeeper is in Ireland. It's 8 hours later, so I tried to get her, but she said no. This panel of members take the financial stewardship that you have given us seriously, and that is why we want to share with you today. And Steve Crow will begin.
She's taking a rest, and we're not going to interrupt it. Thanks, Bill, for going through so many things that we've achieved in the past few months. That was excellent. I'm going to add just a few more. We have admitted many new members, including an amazing confirmation class of young people. We witness every Sunday our thriving Christian education program. We have a full but continually changing staff of people who make our campus clean and serviceable to others. We have contributed significantly to the broader church, especially by making sure the Western Regional Youth event was so successful. We all know that we walk on new carpets and sit on newly upholstered chairs in the Koinonia room. It is beautiful. And we paid $150,000 on the principal of our mortgage. But I'm not here to talk about the state of the church and everything it's achieved in the past 6 months. I'm tasked with an explanation of whether we're weathering the finances of all this activity. I hope you remember that when we presented the fiscal year 24 budget last December, we asked you to continue our transition to a fully staffed church, eager to move forward with worship and programs to fulfill our mission and vision as stated by the congregation. And to do that, we proposed a balanced budget that would take, if needed, an extra $160,300 from our investments. We also added $42,000 over pledges to our operating income, a stretch goal for us, and we hope to generate another extra $12,000 through the programming and the use of the building. Basically, we also promise to come back to you in 6 months and tell you whether this seems to be working or not, and this is your mid-year report. My comments are based on the bookkeeping financial report from the end of June, and if you haven't received one, raise your hand and we'll get a copy to you. It's one pager. It's posted on the website, but I know a lot of you don't go there to read it, so we made sure we brought it to you today. Look at the 3 columns on the right of the sheet. Actual refers to the money received and spent. Budget shows what we anticipated bringing in and spending. And variance shows the shortfall or overage on each line. One more note. Our operating budget now includes some revenues and expenditures we added since December. So if the budget line shows 0, but the actual shows money, you'll see the evidence of our change in bookkeeping. Last December, we didn't budget for this, but we've integrated it into the overall budget, and so we actually show money being spent or coming in. Overall, we are operating fairly closely to what the December budget builders anticipated. But at this point, the budget anticipated a surplus of $10,000, but our actual shows a deficit of $2,196. I should note that we have not quite transferred as much from investments as we thought we might to date, but only about $12,000 short of what we anticipated in the budget. We are falling short of meeting our stretch goal for donations and offerings by about $30,000. Therefore, we encourage everyone to keep pledges up to date and to dig deeper if your financial situation allows. Typically, giving picks up toward the end of the year, and we anticipate that to occur again this year. With grants for projects and special preservation gifts, which cover the immense carpeting and upholstery initiative, we show a total income of $126,000 over budget year to date. But we also show expenditures of $104,000 over budget. We just moved the last of our building fund investments into the bank account to help us cover the current mortgage payments. However, we will probably be short by 2 months or about $13,000 before this fiscal year ends. Nonetheless, the Budget Committee concludes that at this point, we should, number one, applaud the tight but vital operations overseen by the staff, encourage everyone to seriously consider surpassing their own goals, giving goals for 2024, but we don't think it's necessary to undertake a special campaign. Our sense is that we may need to reconsider this when we learn the total costs of the tower repair, but that's a financial cost that was not included or thought about in the budget. I think things started to fall almost the day we approved the budget, so we can't see that far ahead. Please note that since we are relying so heavily on investments to underwrite our operating costs, we can't, as we once did in the past, readily turn to investments to cover everything that must be done in unforeseen circumstances. So clearly the tower is going to be an extra expense that we're going to have to find some way to finance other than let's just go to the unrestricted reserves and pull it out. We'll know that later. I should tell you that as soon as the bricks fell, we received over $20,000 of gifts to apply toward the project. So that's a wonderful starting point, but it's not going to be nearly enough, I fear. So this is a report from the Budget Committee. We don't think we need to come back to you with a special campaign at this point, simply to make our operations work, as long as we give and give generously and as much as we can. Thank you.
Okay, my name's Randy King, and I've been graciously elected vice moderator by you. I also chair the building administrative team, co-chair the building safety and design team now with John Boyden, before that for decades with Bill Peck, and on the board of historic preservation and safety.
Is that all?
I hope so. Anyway, you may notice building is in all of those things. So first I want to acknowledge Steve and Heather and Melody, because unlike, it may seem like, oh, the bill's coming on the 1st of the month, we write checks on the 10th, and then we just relax and watch TV. The bills come in all erratically. The insurance bill sometimes a month early, 2 months late, hard to take. Electricity, all this stuff. We get levies from the city for their stuff. It's really hard. So Steve, Melody, and Heather have just done a phenomenal job of balancing books when it's like they're floating. So the building, I want to first acknowledge all the stuff you have all donated to, that we've gotten money for. First, see where you're sitting? You're sitting on these cushions. Aren't they nice? 2 years ago, they weren't here. We have some survivors up there, but we got rid of the ones with the tears and the holes and the stuff. And having measured everyone, they're all different. Because it's not like you go to Home Depot and buy a pallet full of cushions, because the curvature is different, because this is a fancy church. So it's got curves and stuff in the back. So they're all measured individually. They were made, delivered, set by a gracious donor. Part two, I want to celebrate the stuff that's done, that's paid for, that we can applaud. So part two, we had Jonathan Talbert come. He's the head of choral studies at Cal State Long Beach. And he and Mark Dickey worked out the sound that, we have this beautiful piano up here that you can barely hear before because it was on carpet. And we had carpet everywhere in here, which they thought was a good thing in the past. So he said, if you got rid of the carpet, you'd have a better, broader, louder sound. So we had a carpet and pew committee analyze this with a lot of discussion with the committees I mentioned, brought it up to council. And fortunately, we got a $50,000 grant from the Navy. So with that money, we were able to take up the carpets, move the pews, and the flooring. We did several lift-ups of the floors, and it turns out this is the 110-year-old fir, Douglas fir, that was original to the place, and it was perfect. So it was just refinished. So refinished the flooring, developed these runners, and the narthex, which is the back of the church, the narthex carpet. And if you look at the carpet, it's not just a simple carpet. They're curved at the sides, and then they have the edging around it. So a lot of work went into this. Many, many people worked on this. So that's done and paid for. But wait, there's more. So we had some donors that are looking at the furniture up there. If you remember it from a couple of months ago, the sofas and the chairs had rips and stains and crud and stuff. And then the carpet was just, it was not a fresh carpet. So we had donors come in, and angel donors, and we were able to replace all of the furniture. We had connections with a guy in his 70s who needed the work and was an outstanding upholsterer who took all of our sofas and chairs. And please, when you go out of here and go, sit in one of them. See how it feels, just like the cushions you're in. Nice and cushy on the tushy. So redid the carpet, both in the koinonia room and all the upholstery upstairs in the Pownell room and the flooring. So please look at that and acknowledge that. Then we've got, so all of that was done and paid for, done. We also were graciously presented with a $328,000 grant we worked to get, so that's money from the port. And that $328,000 was used to put the solar panels, which are up on top of the new building. None of the old building was touched, okay? So it's in the new building. The integration has been somewhat problematic with Southern California Edison. We're spending $3,000 or $4,000 a month for decades on this. And so to go to zero, Southern California Edison, it brought tears to their eyes. So we were able, July 30th, we turn it on. Oh, yeah. July 30th. We
have a date. All right.
Yes. But wait, there's more. What? Oh, yeah. So we also got a further $270,000 from the port for, you may notice that there's some peeling ceilings, and that's because condensation from the pipes that go everywhere through here over the last 50, 60 years, they drip water falls down, it peels the paint. And you can't really just patch and paint it because the water will continue to drip. So we have $240,000 for fixing up the heating and air conditioning that's been here for half a century. And if you ever want a really good Halloween tour, go see the chiller down below the patio in there, because on a dark night, it's spooky. You can see the ghosts. There's wires and pipes and everything from decades of non-use. So we got money for that, plus we were able to use $10,000-$20,000 of that to go to LED lighting, which also will save us money and save the environment, as well as sealing some windows. We have 2 of the windows taken out of the nursery that are being patched. All of this is overseen by the Historic Preservation Committee, the Building Committee, and the Board of Historic Preservation, and presented to the council. So a lot of discussion of that. So that's $268,000 of that. We also have donor money, not operational funds, that are used to bring the carpet that we haven't installed yet, but it's available, that matching carpet from the 3rd Street landing down to the choir room, and the carpet on that walkway outside the choir room between that and the Ramsey Dining Hall, which is kind of ratty. So that's all going to be replaced. Well, there's stuff you plan for years and years, you write grants for, you get money, years and years in the planning, and then you have stuff that, well, we're a Christian church, stuff that drops from the sky. And so the beginning of the year, we had pieces of the tower fall off. Now let me be crystal clear. We had structural engineers on site with the lift, with drones, and they actually got up in a spooky ladder and surveyed the entire thing. Structurally, the tower is perfect. It's not going to go across 3rd Street, Cedar. It's going to stay there. The only thing that was damaged was some of the roofing and some of the tiles, and some other tiles are cracked. So we've gotten bids for the roofing people. Bids are coming for replacing and tile people, and that's it. We just need to coordinate this. And I episodically see Eric Peterson, who's our business operations manager, who's juggled these dozen balls in the air for the last couple of months or years. So he stepped out. Do you see him? Anyway, he comes in and out because he's doing so much all the time. So, like Steve said, we don't have the money for the tower. We have $20,000 graciously donated. It's going to be a little bit more than that, not a lot, on the order of probably $5,000 or $10,000, not on the order of $100,000. So, still accepting donations in that end. And that's about it. So now I'll turn this over to Pam, who will talk about legacy.
Talk about what?
Legacy giving. It says it right here.
Is this on? Yes. I'm going to stand up. I think clearer when I'm standing, not sitting. Oh, that's a low blow. Okay, I'm going to reverse the order. I'm going to talk about stewardship first and then legacy. And both Steve and Randy took some of my dialogue, what I was going to say, because stewardship, as you know, we do a pledge campaign every year where it's usually a month, and we have people talk about what the church means to them, and the campaign is planned, and it usually runs 4 weeks to garner support for all of the operating budget and all of the things that our church does through our budget. And that includes the salaries, the maintenance for the building, organ, programs, church programs, everything that we love about this church is done through the stewardship campaign. And every year that I've been on the committee, I always say, it doesn't matter how much you give. The key thing is we want people to commit to the stewardship campaign. Whether you give $500 a month, whether you give $10,000 a year, or you give $1 a week, that doesn't matter. We want your name on the form to show your commitment to the church, because without us, we're not going to be here. And this last year, I cannot believe all of the extra money that was raised outside of the budget, all of the things that Steve and Randy went through that was outside the budget. Thousands and thousands of dollars that was raised, not through a campaign, but from people, you and me, us, stepping up to the plate and say, you know, we're tired of those sofas looking so ratty when we have people come in. Our church is beautiful, but you sit on a ratty sofa. So there was a campaign, or people stepped up to take care of that. You heard about the floor. You heard about the carpeting. You heard about the cushions. It's just amazing how many and what people do to step up to make this place such a glorious place. And without us, I mean all of us, it wouldn't happen. So stewardship is important, because stewardship is the nuts and bolts that undergirds everything that we do. And it's important because after the pandemic, the church council made a decision to ramp up, to hire additional people, to take us to the next level. And so far, so good. We've been able to do that. But as you all know, inflation has gone up, everything has gone up, and the church's expenses have gone up. So when we do the stewardship campaign in September, October, November, whenever that happens, I'm no longer on Stu and Finn, but Kathy Chambers has that covered, and her group. So when the stewardship campaign comes forward in the fall, really think about how much you can give and if you can increase, because as we all know, things are more expensive. So enough on stewardship. I am on the Legacy Giving Circle Committee. There's Steve, Kathleen O'Neill, Harold Sutherland, and myself, and Petra is also on that. And so we put together over the last couple of years a mechanism for people to put the church in their will through the Legacy Giving Circle. And if any of you have attended the Legacy Giving Circle forums that we've given in the past, I'll just give a quick overview of how we did what we did. When Ann Hoffman was here, she did an analysis of who gives in this church, from the millennials to the baby boomers and above. And because those people that are younger than the majority of us in the room here, they have higher expenses. Maybe they're trying to buy a home, they're raising kids. They can't donate as much as they would like because they're putting money away for college and all of that good stuff. And as you go through the age levels, it's the baby boomers that give the majority of money or have the ability to give more money. And so because of that, we decided we've always had legacy giving in the past, but we decided to update the forms and create a legacy giving circle. And the role of that is to encourage people to put the church in their will, so that the church knows, hopefully, what will be coming in down the road. Because as you know, this church is very expensive. And to keep it beautiful and welcoming and so that people will want to come here, that takes money, takes finances. So when you put in a legacy giving form, there's many different ways that you can designate how you want your hard-earned money to go to the church. You can designate a specific fund. For instance, I've done mine, and I'm designating money to the budget fund, because the budget fund builds that corpus, and then as the investments through that increase, then you can pull more money out to supplement our budget. So that's one portion of where you can donate your money. You can also designate for preservation. That's a key component of legacy giving. Also, scholarship. Our scholarship program is pretty strong, but some people do want to give to that, and that's fine. The organ. There's a legacy fund for the organ. So there's many different ways that you can designate your hard-earned money to help the church plan for the future. So that being said, I did want to say something about special projects. I know both Steve and Randy have talked about it. So we know we have the stewardship campaign. We know we have legacy giving that plans for the future. And then we have all of these ad hoc projects. And you've heard about them. So there's multiple ways to give to the church. And I am just so grateful and excited that I include all of us, love this church so much that we're willing to donate our hard-earned money through these 3 programs. And I'm hoping that we all continue to do that for the future. And let's see my notes, if I have anything else I want to say. Our members are very generous, and that has improved the beauty and efficiency of our sanctuary. Thank you.
Thank you so much to each of you who have presented today. We gratefully appreciate you. We appreciate those of you who are online. I'm following along right now. Hello to all of you. We know some people are out of the country or are traveling right now, so the Financial Forum up until this point will stay online for those to catch up later who would like to. It is remaining live now, but from here on out will be cut off later. So goodbye, everyone who watches this later. But those of you who are here right now will have the chance to ask questions online or in person. I will ask the questions online, and you can also ask in person, and Ruth will bring you a mic. So if you have any questions for this group, and like I said earlier, if we can't answer the question now, we will find the answer from Heather and Melody or Eric later. So, questions? Anyone in person or online?
Yes, my name is Clarence Dendy. I've been a member since 1991. I've been moderator in different boards. A little bit closer. Okay. Just to get a little closer. Okay, my question is, do you have a percentage of numbers of units that have pledged to the church when you go around looking for those persons that probably still attend church but just doesn't contribute anymore? And then you contact them. So do you know a percentage of those persons that have started giving back? And secondly, what is the actual membership number of this church?
One of the things that we're working on this year is we are probably switching over to a new database system that can do a better job keeping track of giving for us. One of the things that's really helpful for any nonprofit is to be able to track giving, not by name, but overall. How many members of the church give regularly, how many of them pledge, how many of them don't, and we can send out targeted mailings. We currently don't have that capacity, but we need to. And so that's under discussion right now. There's also a project that Wally and I are embarking on with the diaconate of contacting inactive members. So being a member of the church is 2 things, showing up and giving. And if you haven't done either of those things, those people will be contacted this year to check in. So that's one whole piece of it. We did have a confirmation class join this year, and we had our new member class joined. So I don't actually have the current number in front of me, but I'll be happy to get that to you. And in fact, I'll write it in the Pilgrim this week because I don't have it in front of me, the current number. But it will change again this year because we expect some of the inactives may drop out. But others might rejoin.
I will say that one of the challenges in all of this is that we measure giving by pledging units, and a lot of pledging units are 2 members. A lot are a single member, and we've never quite gotten the whole count about what percentage of the membership actually pledges, because we need to break down these pledging units according to 2 members or 1 member or 3 members, or sometimes 4.
Or 6 if you have a lot of kids.
Yes, last year, well, the 3 years I was on stewardship and finance, when we took the pledges, we always looked at the members and who submitted pledges. And for those people that didn't pledge, they would receive letters, so we would follow up with letters to encourage people to pledge. And it's always a finite line. You've got people that move away and they still want to be on the pilgrim list and all of that. So we do look, and sometimes we won't send a letter because maybe we know that they're infirmed or they're just not really as connected. But every year, Stewardship and Finance does do, I think, a good job of not only receiving the pledges from active members, but they will go out and identify those people that haven't pledged and send a letter, and to those people that maybe are looking online and send them a letter. So we're always working that angle, trying to increase our pledges. So as Steve said, sometimes it's hard because of the way that our database is structured, but we're doing the 100% effort.
And we welcome gifts from faraway people too. Just, that's also allowed. Any other questions? Okay, go.
Yes. I want to thank the people who are in a position to do those special donations. And one Sunday I came to church and saw the lovely cushions on the pews, and I go, yes. I have a question. One of my focuses, I guess you could say, or foci in life is inclusion. And when somebody makes a donation or pledge like that, can I assume that if there is not adequate funds to complete a project, you would let others of us know that there might be a need for our $5 or $10 or $20? I think, if somebody wants to make a donation and have their name attached to it, I understand that, and I think it's wonderful. But I also think it's, I might be giving to my max for the general purpose, but if there's something I really care about, I might up my ante on that particular little portion I can give to a bigger thing. So I just want you to keep that in mind as special things come up.
We did that with the piano. When Mark brought the idea of buying this grand piano, there were a few of us members, basically the music people, said, oh, that sounds great, we'll do that. And we didn't quite have enough money that was raised, and so we opened it up. We put a nice article in the Pilgrim, and people had the opportunity to donate. I do want to say something about giving and asking. And I don't know how many of you remember Ken Dixon. And one of the things that he always brought up is that you don't want to ask people too many times for money, because for some people that's a turnoff, especially if they feel like they really can't give as much as they would like. So that's why we're very careful what we ask the congregation for. We've got the stewardship campaign, which hopefully everyone participates in. We've got the legacy giving, so that people, as they go towards the end of life, they remember the church, and then special projects. So I think that as we move forward, if we don't have enough money from angels, we will always put something in the Pilgrim for people to donate to that special project.
I think look soon for some updates on the tower, specifically in that link, because we have some funds, but we likely need a bit more. I have an online question, but go ahead. Do you have?
No, I see Eric has finally resurfaced. Ruth, can you ask him to step in? And he's juggling all these balls.
We just want to give you accolades.
It's Eric Peterson, our business operations manager, who just keeps the church going and all this stuff.
And Eric, will you stay in here for this question? Because you might actually be part of the answer to it, or Steve. Kimmel Conway is online, hello, and would like to know, what is the projected annual utility savings with the implementation of the solar panel system?
That's a great question. I have a full report on that.
Can you let him use the mic so they can hear him online with the answer? Thank you.
Hi. That's a great question. I have a report on that from the solar vendor. It's a pretty decent amount in comparison to what we were doing. I don't have that right in front of me, though, but I can certainly send that, and we can make that public. It'll be really interesting and neat to see when the panels are fully working, how much electricity we will be saving. And so I'm trying my best to get that going as quickly as I can. And once they're on and running, I feel like good 20 years plus, we should have those generating power for the church. So.
And Eric, just like a home system, you'll be able to watch online the savings, is that correct? And see how much energy we're producing once they're working?
We'll be able to have like an IP address login for it, similar to how we can manage the chiller and everything. So we'll be able to see how many panels are running. Let's say panel 42 is out, we'll know. Things like that.
That might be a fun thing to put in the newsletter. Like, look how
totally.
much we made this month just from the sun.
Yeah, we can do screen grabs of it, and we can compare Edison reports. I remember getting management of the chiller helped the electricity bill a lot when I first got here, and so we'll be able to do that and show that kind of work as well.
Great.
Yeah.
And just to add, there's a synergy. When you upgrade part of the church and the other part gets upgraded, like with the solar power, should knock $3,000 off a month at least that's conservative, off of the amount we spend. And then when you have the children, HVAC replaced, when Eric first got here, we had reports submitted about solar people, what they could do, and then noticed that every hour, the HVAC, the refrigeration system would turn on for 15 minutes and then shut off. And SCE charges you for when you turn it on and turn it off, not just for what you use. So Eric intervened then, reset the system, so we no longer have that charge. Now it's over $500 saved right there. So we anticipate it'd be more than just paying for our electricity. A combination, when we get the refrigeration done April next year is the drop dead date. They should finish. That between the two, it'll be fun to watch.
Thanks everybody for being here for this terrific meeting. One question I'm kind of curious about, maybe others are too. Can you sort of break out the receipts we get from the Third and Chestnut parking lot and from the restaurant property?
Well, on the one pager, they're grouped together under other income. And that other income is the rental of the restaurant and anything we get from the parking is in there. I will tell you that right now, we don't get any income particularly from the restaurant parking. We just get use of it once they're done with it. We get some income, and it's been running about $600 for the Chestnut lot, about $600 a month. So our lots are not income producers at all. What else did you ask for?
The restaurant itself.
Yeah, it's there. Now, what we do, it's the total net. So she takes out taxes that we have to pay, and we end up paying taxes on income from what we get from that. And so when you look at it at a more detailed thing, it'll show the amount of rent I get and then all the taxes that have been levied against it. For those of you who don't know about the restaurant rental, we're not getting a huge income from it, but we don't take care of it. The restaurant takes care of that whole property. So we have no expenses that we incur in maintaining the building or maintaining They even put in the parking lot when they repaved the parking lot. Every budget time we come up, people say we're not getting enough money from it. But the fact is, it's a little hard to offset what the rent would be if you were paying people to take care of that piece of property.
I have a question about insurance. And it surprises me that there's not been increases in insurance in the budget, especially in health insurance. And so were you able to lock in insurance rates for the year?
There's been increases. We've been fortunate in our group health insurance that those increases have been relatively small, surprisingly small. The property insurance is a different matter. And we tend not to know what that price is going to be until December when we're putting the budget together. And finally, we get a figure for what that property insurance is going to be. It increased dramatically about 3 years ago, and we ended up changing parts of our insurance policy and making our deduction a little higher than what it had been, and so forth. But it's insurance, property insurance right now is a mess. And it was COVID, and now it's fires, and some insurers are actually pulling out altogether. So every year we sort of have to renegotiate, and it has gone up. It has gone
up. My question is on the solar panel initially. Will there be battery backup for the solar panels? Which is another expense.
The answer right now is no, right? As of now, no, but that is something that we could add in the future.
Okay. And my second question is for Steve. On your June report that was in the Pilgrim, there's a line that says, has grants to cover number 2.065 of work.
Should have been 5,000.
Is that what that's supposed to be? Okay.
It should have been 5,000. Just my transcription issue.
Thank you.
Hi, Paul Boyd Batstone. I just wanted to note that I was noticing with the budget, we're talking about things. And what makes this church work are people. And I'm finding, you know, if you think back a year and a half, 2 years ago, we had one interim minister here. Now we are fully staffed and we're watching this growth. And the budget is firm with that. That's just an observation I wanted to make, that I wanted to make sure I heard you clearly, Steve, that you don't see us tapping into that budget support fund. Is that correct?
Oh, we're taking a lot of money out of the budget support.
No, not additionally than what was planned.
I'm not seeing us going beyond what the budget said we should do. Mm-hmm. I think we're going to find that we have resources that's going to cover what is now a shortfall, a small shortfall. But I never know for sure exactly how this is going to work out, because we use our investments for cash flow. We don't move a bunch of money into our checking account. But as a month comes to a close or a paid period comes, Melody says, well, we're down about 25. So I'll say, okay, then pull out 25. Maybe the next month it's going to be 15. I mean, that's sort of how it works. And so far it's been a smart process, because the stock market has gone up until the last couple of days, and we gained on that. We gained. But when it goes down, it hurts. It hurts. The corpus is holding pretty much steady, even as we continue to draw. What we're losing is the amount of money that we would have gained had we not taken from it. We're not actually losing absolutely dollars in investments. Am I making sense with what I'm saying? So I feel good if we end up at the end of the year showing that we have about the same amount in investments as we had at the beginning. Because we've taken out $200,000 to $300,000 to run, and yet we've maintained that level. But we have lost the income that extra $300,000 would have gained for us.
Any other questions? I'm not seeing any more online.
Going back to an earlier question about how many members do we have, how many pledging units, what's going on, it's the good thing is that it's been a really hard thing to tell, because Reverend Patron and Reverend Wally have bringing back all these inactive members that haven't pledged, and they're coming back to church. So it's really hard to keep count of these. So you can thank your ministers for the problems Steve is having.
And truthfully, all of you, because nobody's going to come here if it's just the two of us, and you all are part of this. So thank you all so much. There's one more question in the back, Ruth. Attendance, yeah, there's a weekly count that the diaconate and the staff take, and there's a total of it in the office that we can share with you if you'd like. I can. Yeah. What did you say over here? Average. Great, we can do that.
There's 60 of you here today, I
That's kudos to all of you for staying. Hooray, thank you. Yeah. All right, great. We have a wonderful list of things to share with you going forward, and we have great gratitude for all of you for the gifts that you're sharing here and in days ahead, and for your interest in this. It matters deeply, and we focused especially on building stuff, but obviously, as Paul was saying, the people, but also the ministry that we share goes far beyond this place, and we will continue to highlight that in days and weeks ahead. But for now, may God go with you, and may you go hydrate before you leave. Please, we learned that Heather is doing well, but most likely was dehydrated. So please go get something to drink before you head out the door. There's food and treats in Koinonia. So may God go with you, and may you carry peace into the world. Amen.